So let's get started. The first thing is some of the introduction and features of Tableau. So Tableau, as you know, is a very wide and a very high range of visualization tools, as we all know, and it has taken up the market in a very quick phase. Earlier, it was an initial feature of it and was initially a standalone tool itself, but in 2018 and 2019, the company, which is named as the Salesforce, has bought Tableau. It has bought up Tableau, and now it's a part of a Salesforce as well. So that's why whenever we get to have a Salesforce, we also get to have for the Tableau license as well. So it's a leading visualization tool, basically. That is why it's a visualization tool and why it's a leading visualization tool, all of it, because it's a desirable and has a unique features. So there are many desirable features that we have, and it's something which has a very powerful data discovery and explorating applications, which allows you to answer some important questions in seconds. So now what important questions can be? It's related to data. So in industry, if I talk about in terms of industry, when we ever see, there in an industry today, if I talk about the higher level of the management, they are more interested in talking with numbers. They are more interested in talking with PPTs and all of this. So when we talk about all of these terms, and when we talk about some manager or a VP or maybe an assistant manager or someone who is talking on these terms, they are more intended on seeing the visuals with the statistic numbers from that data. They are not interested in looking for those vague data in the Excel or something. So for that, there is a need or there is an urge that makes up these PPTs available. Now, these PPTs are something which were earlier done on Excel, but due to the Excel limitation with different charts, with different features, with combining the data sets or by on a very high level or on a large scale level, or connecting it through or through a different platform, means a database or something of that sort, due to all these lags, and also with the limitation of some of the data visual tools, we came into the market with the data visualization. Initially, that was Tableau, which helps not to speed the analysis process, but it was a pretty self-reliant feature as well. Why it speed up the analysis? Because herein the visuals are mostly available, just a one-click solution you have, wherein you just click on the data, you just get your data into that tool, and you just select the particular visual you want to go ahead with, and you can work accordingly. So that's why it has a speed of analysis and it's really work very fast. And that was included as one of the feature of Tableau as well. Now, coming on to the next of it things, why it's being a self-reliant tool as itself. Self-reliant is because it's a one-click solution tool wherein you can just click, you can get your data in, and you can simply work with those data sets. Now, how that feature works or how you get your data sets, how you get any data sources, how you do with it is all something which can be explained on the tool itself. So let's go to that tool and see. So this is the initial tool of it. This is a specific visual of Tableau. Now, every one of you are thinking that Tableau is something which is very costly. Yes, it's a paid tool and it's costly for sure, but you can get a free license version as well. If you have, you can just download it from the Google, you get the latest version. The latest version currently is 2023.4, and that latest version you can download it and you can get it for a 14 days, which is a Tableau desktop version. And you can simply use it to work on it. Apart from that, if you are buying for the student license, if you are a student and you have any of the college or college cards, any of the college cards, ID cards or anything, you can just upload the image of that and simply you can get a student license for an year. So this not only with the students, but also who are not the student. They can actually arrange for those licenses and simply can get it and can get the Tableau license for an year and can enjoy all its services free of cost. So you just need to have the student ID card image and you just need to upload them on their website. And then you are good to go with it. You will receive the activation key within 10 minutes into your email ID and you are good to go with it. You can use it very easily. So that was about some setups and some Tableau basic things wherein you can see an interface like this. So this was a lab setup for the Tableau. Now coming on to the interface. So if I talk about this one, this is called as the data source. Now here in the data source, if you see on the left-hand side, you will see some features over here where it says like a data set, what it is connected to, mentioning of some sheets. So we'll come back to this, but let's take off with the ribbons first. So my first ribbon is file. So here you have a new option where if you can click on the new, it will open up a new Tableau for you. A complete new Tableau workbook. Open if you want to open anything, like any other existing dashboards. If I want to open, I can click on open and open it. Close, if I want to close this, it will be simply closed. If you want to save anything, you can just click on save and it will be saved. Similarly, if you want to save it in a different format or by a different name, you can do that as well. If you want to see the show start page, it will show you the start page, which is this one, wherein you can connect with the data set and you can go to the data. Okay. Now, apart from that, if you want to, like, let's say if let's again open the dashboard, wherein I was earlier working on it, which was this dashboard. And now we are back on the data set again. Similarly, if the next step we see over here is paste data as connection. So if I click on it, I can paste the data as a connection. So see, the data has been pasted as a connection. Whatever data you had, that has been pasted as a connection over here. Okay. Let's remove that because we don't need it. Then if you want to import the workbook, that's all. If you want to save it as a workbook, you can import that completely. Then the next feature is repository location. Now, what is meant by a repository location of Tableau? So this repository location is nothing but you can say a simple Tableau feature wherein it is a special place or a Tableau by default repository place wherein Tableau saves all of its bookmarks, connectors, its data sources, and everything of that sort. So what do you understand by a bookmark or a Tableau? So it's nothing, but it's a small data source type of a thing, a database sort of thing, a repository, which actually stores and serves the data. So this data includes some information about the Tableau server user, groups, and the assignments. Also, it helps you with the permissions, the projects, the data sources, the workbook, and some extracts, metadata, and some refreshed information that you get across. So this is something about a Tableau server repository that comes as a part. Now, the question comes in, why we use a Tableau server repository? So basically, when you want to connect to a data in a data source, or you want to connect to a database or something, then in that case, the Tableau server repository is of greatest importance. Because when you connect to a data source or anything, all these configurations are actually marked up in your worksheets whenever you connect to a worksheets and everything. So then in that case, we always go ahead and use that Tableau server repository for that purposes, wherein we get the bookmarks of the data, we get the connection agents, we get data sources, we get any extensions. Extension means any type of file extensions if you provide. Then they have the log files that if you forget to save any of the data set, then the log files will help you to get those data set across. Any of the map sources so that you can connect with the map data easily. Then any of the services if you want to take up for, any of the shapes, if you want to change any shapes, or you want to apply any different shapes, that will also help. And the workbooks, which will give you the details of all the workbooks, all the worksheets that are saved inside a workbook. Basically, a Tableau dashboards that you create at the end of the day. So that's why that's the use of the Tableau repository. Now it comes up, where should the Tableau repository be placed? So generally it is placed in your documents in the local C drive. Whenever you download a Tableau, it will automatically create a Tableau repository in your documents in the local C drive, or in the local C drive, or on your maybe on the D drive, depending on how the configurations and how everything goes on in system to system. Okay. So this is something which is for the Tableau repository. Let me just remove this one. Now these are, see, under the Tableau repository, you can see the dashboards which I have used recently. And here, if I click on exit, it will move me out of the Tableau. Okay. Now coming on to these options, data, a new data source. If I want to connect with any of the new data source, I can do that. Apart from that, the next is, if you want to refresh the data source, it will refresh your data source. Basically, if you have inputted any data source, or maybe you have made any changes in the data source, so for that, it will refresh your data source. Okay. So that's basically is a refreshing a data source. If you want to refresh any data source, in that case, that is what your refreshing means. Now, the next is if you want to duplicate a data source. If you want to duplicate a data source, it will create a copy of it. And if I don't want to, I can just simply change that. Then the next comes in as paste data as connection. So that's the same. If you want to paste the data as connection, paste data as a data source. If you want to paste the data, this data as a data source, you can do that. You can export any of this into a CSV file. These tables, you can export them into a CSV file. If you want to close a data source, you can close that. If you want to edit the data source, filters. So there are some filters which are getting applied on a data source. If you apply any data source, or if you apply any filters on a data source like this, then you can simply apply that over here. Join null values to null values, you can have those. Maintain character case Excel. So that is something wherein you maintain a character case Excel, wherein you basically have all the details of the character cases. So if there are any characters in your data set, or any special characters or anything in your data set, and you want to maintain a list of them, then in that case, you go ahead and use the maintain character case in Excel. So in this case, if I would have any special characters in my data set, or anything of that sort, like if I add a dollar, or maybe like a penny sign, or maybe an @ or anything, something special characters, or maybe using different ASCII characters, then in that case, we go ahead and use the Excel. So all the lists will be maintained in an Excel, and after you close this, you will get an Excel file opened up, which will show you that these are the special characters that have been used in your data set. Okay. Now the next is when we want to have like an option wherein we want to see the data sources. So what data source I'm using, that it will show. And if I want to edit the connection, I want to rename it, I can do all of that. That's my choice. This is one of a part of server. Now, Tableau has different types of versions in itself. There is Tableau Desktop, which is this version you see on Tableau, where we create our data sets. There is one version which is called as Tableau Prep, which is generally used to prepare the data. If let's say your data is very unstructured and it can't be cleaned up on the on Excel, or making them up in Tableau, you can't even clean them there. Then to structure that and make it into a proper data set, what we do is that we use a Tableau Prep for that. So basically that's a part of Tableau. Then we have a Tableau Cloud-in, which works with the Tableau Cloud data servers. So wherever and whichever industries use cloud, they will actually work with the Tableau Cloud. And then we have a Tableau Server. So Tableau Server is basically used for publishing the data sources. Whenever you want to publish any data source or do any of the stuff, then we go ahead and use a Tableau Server in that case. So basically, let's say you created a dashboard. Okay. Once you created the dashboard, you want to publish something on the dashboard, or you want to publish something so that other people can see it. So there are two ways. Either you share this workbook to everyone, whosoever wants to see it individually. Okay. Or you can just publish that to the server. And you can just share a link to them, like a sort of an hyperlink, which they will click and they will able to see your dashboards. Now, what's the difference of sharing it by publishing it on a server rather than sharing a workbook? If you're sharing a workbook, let's say, and in the meantime, you have any changes which you made in your Tableau dashboard, then you have to again save that and again share that version, the new file again and again whenever you make a change. But in case of your Tableau server, when you're publishing on the server, that's become more easy, because once you make a change, you republish it just on a one click. And once the people again go to that link, they can easily see your updated dashboards. So you don't have to again and again reshare the workbook to each and every one. Mostly it saves the time, it saves the attachment, and also not each of everyone should have a Tableau to see your dashboards. That's the very most important thing, that no one should have the Tableau. If they have a server access also, they would easily be able to see your dashboards. They really doesn't need a server, really doesn't need a Tableau connection or a Tableau software for that. So that's the part of server which comes in. So if you want to sign into the server, obviously there will be a server addresses. Now server is very high cost paid end version. So that's why it is mostly used by the organizations where you can connect to the server. So they have servers depending on the project they are working in. For the different projects, there will be server created where the workbooks are published. So you can just simply put that server link, click on connect, and it will automatically connect it to your server. Then if you want to open a workbook, you can open it from the server itself. If you want to publish any data source, you can publish that on the server itself. If let's say you just want to publish the data source over there, so you can publish that as well. Install Tableau Bridge client. Now this is something which is very interesting. A Tableau Bridge client is something which will give you a flexibility or a leverage behind the firewall data sources. Now, what are these? To keep them fresh. So basically, any of protecting a sort of security measure, if I talk about, that's what Tableau Prep is. So that's what a Tableau Bridge client is. If you want to keep a security, if you want to keep up with your securities, want to enhance some firewalls, want to add some firewalls like a protective sort of a screen or something in that case, then we go ahead and use this option of basically the Tableau bridge client in that case. Okay. Now, the next is Tableau public. So there's an option of Tableau public as well. You can open that up, which is a very shared version of Tableau public. So this is something wherein you can use a Tableau public sign-in server to sign into a public version, which is open for all, where you can sign in, you can publish your dashboard. You can have a mixed feeling of like, you can have that use of a server page. So basically is a Tableau account. You first need to sign in the first way. And then if you have a Tableau account, you can use that as a public to publish your workbook and all. So it's kind of a replica of a server, but that's a public platform where everyone can share it and everyone can in fact watch your dashboards, whatever you are publishing. So that's about the Tableau public. So here you can manage your profile. You can open it up. First, you need to register and make a ID and make an account basically there by registering yourself. And then basically you can connect to it. You can manage your profiles. You can publish your workflows and you can show it to the world that, okay, these are the workflows that you have created and you have published them across. So this is something which people can see and have a look on it. And if anybody wants to comment on that also, so you can open a comment platform there and you can work accordingly. Now, next option is of window. So the first option is show status bar. Sorry. Show status bar means if you uncheck this, if you see, as soon as I uncheck it, there's a status bar which is there, which is not shown. And as I check it, these will be shown. So these are basically the status bar that get lights up when I uncheck this option. Okay. This was calling. Then you have bookmarks. If you have created any bookmarks on this page, obviously the bookmarks is going to be shown to you. You will be easily able to see those bookmarks available, which are there. So that's about the window section. Now coming on to the help. Help is something which is an advanced and an added feature into the Tableau, wherein you can basically add those Tableau workbooks, or you can have a help online wherein you can see if you want something. Or let's say you are in a situation where a Tableau is not working or you want to reach out to someone, so you can click on the help option. And with that help option, basically, you can just publish that and we can go ahead with it. Okay. So that's about these ribbons which are available on the Tableau connectivities. Now, this is the start page. This is something which if I have done anything, any changes, and I want to undo that change, so I can just click on this and I can do an undo change option. This is redo. If I want to do the same thing again, I can do a redo. Here it is a save option and this is a refresh data set. Okay, so that's basic interaction of Tableau. So from here, you basically add your data set. You can select if you want to connect to server, if you want to connect to a Microsoft Excel or whatsoever file you want to connect to. You can connect it and your data will be shown simply over here. So the basic is like if I want to connect to a Microsoft Excel file, I'll just simply go to that file, I'll select that file, I'll open it. So it takes few seconds, depending on how your data set is, and you are good to go with the data. Okay, so like the way I showed to you. I just bring this data set over here. So this is the data set that I have over here, and I can work on that. So this is how you drag and drop it. If you want to remove it, you can just click on that and you can bring your older data sets again. This is how basically you connect your data. And if you want to connect all the 3 data sets together or all the 3 sheets together, this is how you bring the data and the connections are made automatically. So you don't have to bother about that. And let's say if I don't want this, I can just remove it from here. It will simply be removed. Okay. So this is how we work with the data, and this is how the data basically looks. And for each of the view, if you want to see the data sets, you can either click it over here to see each of the files, or rather you can go over here where you have the sheet name. And if you see over here in the right, if you hover over it, it says view data. And from here also you can see this. Now there is something which is called as a data interpreter. So this is something wherein you can clean your data file. If you just click on this and you want to use a data interpreter, so just to clean your data sets, to make it more clear, to make it more clean, maybe if the columns are not set, if the data is not set or something of that sort, then we can basically use a data interpreter that will help you to clean your Microsoft Excel workbook and can remove some of the leading, trailing spaces or any of sort of errors that you have in your data set. So you can review the results as well over here. Once you do a clean with data interpreter, you can just review your results. So take few seconds, obviously, to show you the data. So let's see what it shows. Okay. So it is going to show you the data set. So see. Data interpreted as column header name. So it made a value in the data source. Then data has been excluded from your data source. To search for all excluded, Control F on the window or Command on Mac. So these are some of the options which it gave you. And it gave you a list of it also, that what all interpretations it has done. On the orders table, on the people table, on these, on the returns table. So it has highlighted those, that what all interpretations this data has done. And if you not want to continue with it, as it mentioned, that you can just unclick that and remove those changes. So that's about the data interpretation over here. Now there's a new option, which is when you want to add a union to. Now union, what is union in Tableau basically? So union is nothing in Tableau, but union is actually you're combining the data sets together. I'll just give you a gist of the union, but later on we are going to do a complete session on union. So I'm just going to give you just a gist of the data. So union is basically if your data source has a new, like you want to combine 2 data sources together. And you want to combine 2 or more tables by appending the values or the rows from one table to another, then you basically have a union of it. So basically you have 2 data sets and you want to consolidate that to a single one file, then you can do a union. But in that case, there is a huge option that your data should have the same data columns. Otherwise, the union will not be possible. Because howsoever you will arrange the data, because it's in general it's a stacking of data one under the other based on the same column names. If the column names is not same, then obviously that if any of the column, let's say I have two tables, an employee table and a salary table. So let's suppose in case of an employee table, if I pick it up, in case of an employee table, if I pick it up in that case, so in employee table, if you pick, you can see there are 4 columns, whereas in the salary table, I can see there are 10 columns as well. But there are some difference wherein in the salary table, I get one extra column of salary and other columns remain same and I'm matching with the employee table. So obviously, whenever I work with that data and union those data, so for the first file, that is employee table, my salary column will be created. But for the employee's entry, it will be nothing in that case. So that is about your union, just a small gist of it. Now, coming on to the next sections, there we have connections. So there are 2 types of connections at Tableau. If I talk about over here, one is basically one is your live connection and one is an extract connection. Now, what is the difference between these 2 connections? What is a live connection and what is an extract connection? So live connection is something when we want our data to keep flowing in a Tableau data source from a dynamic database. Then we have a live connection. So if there is a database which actually is updated on a regular basis or the data is coming continuously on that and on basis of that, the charts are getting updated. So we always go ahead with a live connection. And so why we use a live connection? In that case, because it offers a flexibility that whenever we want a real-time update and instantaneous insights, then we can get it through the live connection. If it is connected to a live data source, it will work very easily. Okay. Now, with live connection, our worksheets would be updated every time when we reopen it. So whenever we are connected with a data source, and if let's suppose I open a sheet over here, so see, it gets updated every time. The sheets will get updated every time. So that's one of the things. Now it depends on how much your data is. If your data is very huge, then obviously with the live connection, it's going to take a bit of time. Okay. Now extract is the most underrated feature of Tableau basically. So it's an extraction. So basically the connection is made over a Tableau data extract, which is also referred to as a hyperfile to us. So based on that hyperfile, the connections are created and we see those connections available. So these connections are basically, so what is this hyper extract file or this hyperfile is all about? This is nothing, but in a lean term, you can say it's a compressed snapshot of your live data. So whatever the live data you were using, it's a very compressed snapshot, like a zip file, you can say. So basically of the live data that is stored locally and is loaded into the memory. So everything over here will be stored locally and will be loaded into the memory very easily. And to ease off our connections and to minimize the load due to complex data, we apply filters to our data to save it. And later we use them as an extract connections. So like the way I told you in the early stage that whenever you have a live connection and if your data sources are very huge or something of that sort, then in that case, whenever you will open a Tableau, it will take up some time to load the data. So in those scenarios, we never go ahead with a live connection until and unless it is very important, like for an e-commerce website, wherein every time the data is getting updated. So obviously you need the data on a live database. So that's why we don't have an option, but we have to connect it to a live data source. But if in any scenarios where we can update that, so what we basically do whenever we are not in a situation that, okay, we don't need a live data in any scenarios, then we always go ahead with the extract option that will create an extract for you and that will create a data set locally onto your dashboards and also will create a much compressed files. And if by chance the data is very much used, then you can also apply filters onto the data set so that you can filter up the data in that case. Now, how this extract process basically works. So extract process basically queries on your Tableau engine because it creates a hyperfile so much optimized and efficient that Tableau uses its in-memory data engine to process it more quickly and easily. So this extract basically will be for a particular workbook. So if you are creating a new workbook with a new data set, obviously the extract will be different in that case. And it will be shared with others as a live data. So whenever you create an extract and you share with other people, it will show them as a live data, but actually that was an extract. But the extract is much faster to open as compared to the live connection. That's also one of the biggest use of extract. So let's say if I click on extract right now. So see, it says extract will include all the data. Now, if I want to edit anything, like I applied a filter over here, so I have an option to apply filters on the extract, basically on any of the column name, or maybe on the aggregate data set, or maybe on the incremental refresh, that I can have a refresh based on any top samples or middle samples or any of that sort. Or maybe I can hide the unused fields. I can set up those connections. And every time I just go to a dashboard or maybe it gets refreshed, so it will show you that when it was actually last refreshed. So when was my data last refreshed, it will give you those options as well. And those informations basically, not options, but yes, you will get some information on that one. So how that is? Like this way. So see, it will show you extract includes all data and it will show you that on what date and what time it was actually refreshed. Now, if you again refresh it, so it has been updated for the current time and date. So that is also one feature of refreshing your extract. So when you exactly do an extract refresh, let's say for this case, I have orders table, people table, and return table. Now, these three tables are in a form of an Excel file. Okay. And they are a set format or a set template from the client. Every time, whenever the new data comes in, you update them in the same table. So in that case, whatever the data prep you are doing, you just prep that data. And once you prep that data together, then you can just simply do one thing, that you once prepped it, you clean all the data, you made it accordingly, then you just upload it in the same files or in the same template which was given to it. That will be, in this case, will be orders, people, and returns. And once you upload them in that case, and then you just come and from the live, you move it to extract and you click on refresh over here, the data will get refreshed to the new data sets. So this is something in which you are doing it yourself, the refresh. The data is not coming from a database, but instantly the data is shared to you from the client in the form of an Excel. And you want to refresh your data sets in that case. So in that case, your extract feature is the most useful feature in that case. Okay. So that's about the extract. Now there's an option which have a filter. So you can always apply a filter on this complete data source. So the data source that you see, I can apply some filters over here. Let's say I want to apply a filter where I just want to apply a filter on the category section, and I just want to see the category. I want to see the data for furniture and office supplies. And I just don't want to see any other data. So now If now I go to any of my dashboards or any of my sheets, so see, I can only see furnitures and office supplies data. That's it, nothing else in my category. Why that? Because I have applied a filter to the data source that I want to see only the furniture and office supplies. That's all. And if you want to remove that, you can just select that and you can remove it. And you click on OK. And now again, we can see the technology again as in our data. This was a data set filter. Whenever you want to apply some filters on your data level, or you want to remove anything, you want to add anything, you want to filter out your data on based on some conditions, then you can obviously go ahead and apply. Use this feature of filters on the left-hand side, extreme left-hand side, sorry, right-hand side, my bad, and you can add your filters accordingly. So this is something which is a very basic of your table, wherein you have Tableau dashboards and you can see all the data over here. Okay. So that is about your Tableaus and everything. This is all about your data set. And this is all about the features and everything. So now, here what you see is a row ID, is an order ID, an order date. So these are the list of the columns and the data set that you have over here, where you can see all the data. So this was it about for the Tableau view and everything. Let's go back to our PPTs. So that was about the self-reliant feature of the Tableau that I told about, including the visual discovery. So now what comes in the visual discovery? So visual discovery is basically something wherein you discover that how visually you want to present your data source. So once you pull any of the column or any of data and datas and the expected datas in both the rows and the shelf column in a Tableau workbook sheet, then in that case, it automatically takes up the data and create a small view of the data basically by using that visual. So that's why it has a visual discovery. It says that it has a similar visual discovery. Now coming on to data sources. So but in Tableau, you can have the facility to connect to various data sources. If you remember, when I was initially connecting to the different data sources and bringing a data in the Tableau a few minutes back, then you can see that there were a list of data sources with which you can connect. Not only that, you can also connect through the SQL as well. So from a database also, if you want to connect your data, you can simply connect the data through those data sources. So there are different sources. You can connect to various files, not only Excel, but CSV, PDF, text files, image file, JSON files, all of these. Apart from that, in case of database connections, you can connect with SQL Server, Oracle, Workbench, Amazon Redshift. So whatever features you want, whatever database you want, Azure, Google Analytics, Google Cloud, Salesforce, so everything is connectable. Then you can connect to servers, you can connect with different images, different PDFs. So you have all of these options to connect to when it comes to a data source. Now coming on to the reverse security. It is a well-secured option. That's a wonderful feature of Tableau, that it's a well-secured, a reverse security is, where it has a great feature and it's secure. So whenever you create a Tableau workbook, it has its own security of protecting the data. The reason behind of its Tableau repository, which is there, which helps you to protect that and which helps to secure that data. inside the Tableau itself. So there is no loss and no data loss over there. That's the first reason. The second is, as it is a licensed version, so it's not a freeware software where you can simply download and go ahead. So that's why it's a robust security. So you don't have that option that you get and you just simply get, like, it's an open source and you can simply get through the data from anyone. So that's also one of a key feature of it, that it has a security. So on the client front, when we work with the data, so we don't have any misleads or any issues with the data in itself. We can simply work with the data very, very easily. So that's a robust security. Apart from that, there are few more features of Tableau. One is it's a architecture agnostics. Architect agnostics means it has a great architect wherein you load the data. Based on the load, you just can prep the data at a simple go, and then you can create the worksheets inside the workbook. That's an architecture agnostics. Then you have a real-time collaboration. Now, what do we understand by a real-time collaboration? If you remember, initially I told you that whenever we want to connect it with any of a live data sources. Now, what I mean by a live data source is nothing, but whenever you want to connect it to any of a e-commerce platform or a data coming from a live data source, like, for example, any of the live databases, any other databases, then in that case, we can have a lifetime collaboration. So if you see, there is an option of live connection. So that's what helps it to make it a lifetime collaboration and will help you to connect on a lifetime basis, so that whenever the data gets updated, your Tableau workbook just get refreshed automatically. So you just click on the refresh button and your data gets refreshed automatically, or you just open the workbook and your data get refreshed automatically. That is what is about a real-time collaboration. Now, coming on to a centralized data. As I told you that it has its own Tableau repository. So that's why the database is very centralized, because it's a Tableau repository wherein your data are getting saved, any of your log files are getting saved, everything is happening in that place. So that's why, due to a centralized laboratory, it's worked very well in that. Then it blends the diverse data sets. Diverse means if you have a structured data and if you have an unstructured data and you want to blend them together, then you can easily blend them into the Tableau by simply blending both the data sets together. So easily you can blend that data. So that's also an add-on feature in here. So these are some of the features with which we finish, and these were some of the add-on features. That's why, due to these reasons, we use Tableau a lot in the market, and it has been one of the most utilized and the most popular tool for the visualization because of all these reasons. So that's the one of its features. Now these are the features which we have covered. So let's move to the next topic, which is Tableau desktop setup. Now, what are the steps if you want to have a Tableau desktop setup? How do you set up the Tableau desktop? So it's very easy to set up the Tableau desktop, and I have mentioned the steps over here also for the setup. There's a free personalized edition of Tableau desktop that you can download from any of the Tableau desktop, or for the Tableau desktop from any of the Google interface or Chrome interface, any. You need to register with your details to able to download that. So basically, when you come up with that setup, you need to register with the details whenever you want to download that. Details in the sense your first name, last name, your organization, and some of the other details as well. So after downloading, the installation is very straightforward. You just need to accept the license agreements and provide the target folder for installation. That's it. And these steps can be followed, and the entire setup is described in the screenshots. So you can just simply go double click on this and it will start to run. You can click on run. It will start and it will read the license agreement for you, and your Tableau will be created. So here after this, you just need to click on this, that I have read and accepted the terms of the license. Once you do this, you click on install. And once it is installed, you will have this. And welcome to Tableau, start a trial or activate a Tableau. So if you want to start a trial, you can see it says it is 14 days without restrictions. And if you want to start trial later, so you can do that. Or if you want to activate the license, you can click on that. And once you want to click activate the license, then the license activation installation step comes up, but after you provide these details. So once you click on any of these options, this details comes up, wherein you want to provide the name, like your name, your first name, last name, your organization name, your email ID, your phone number, what is the job title. All of these details you want to do, and you have to click on register. As soon as you fill all of these columns, the register button will get activated and you have to click on the register. Once you do that, your registration is complete and the screen will occur. Then you can click on continue. Now, if you are activating the license key, then there will be a pop-up coming in to enter the license key number. And if you're not entering the license key and you're going to use a free trial version, then directly this screen will open up. But if you enter the license key, then you have to just enter the license key and then the screen will open up. So there is one more additional step whenever a license key comes into picture. So that was the basic installation step that we have over here. I hope everybody got to know that. Now the next step is how to connect to various data sources. So there are 3 steps. You have to connect to data sources, which involves locating the data and using an appropriate type of connection to read the data. Then it will choose the dimension and the measures. This will involve selecting the required columns from the source data for analysis. And then finally, you want to apply your visualization techniques, which will involve applying required visualization methods such as specific charts or graphs type. Now, how do we connect to data? I told you how to connect to data. As soon as you connect to data, if you open any of the sheets, you will see automatically it will define the by looking at the columns, it will define the columns into 2 parts. One is a dimension and another is a measure. Now, dimensions are something which have a string in them that are defined in the section of dimensions, like your orders, customer ID, customer name, category, everything. And the columns, which are numeric, will be defined in the measure section. So it will automatically divide them into 2 sections itself. So that was choosing dimension and measures. Now applying visual techniques. So you can simply now make anything out of the visuals. You can like put any of the column. And from here, you can select any sales numbers, or if you want to create a chart over here, or to create anything over here, you can simply go ahead and click on that and create them. So it's good to go. Okay, so this is how we connect to a data source. And that's what it's explained on the chart as well. So for example, if not this one, let's say I'll show you one more, wherein you just take the, maybe the state, and based on the state, I'll take my profit. Or not state also, let's take some small section, maybe a subcategory. So if I create like a chart, I'll be able to see it in some like this way. Or if you want to create a bubble chart, it will be side of like this. Any chart of your choice. This is something it looks like. Pretty easy. So that's what is explained, that you can choose your dimension and measures. Next, you choose the data to be analyzed by deciding on the dimensions and the measures. So dimensions are descriptive data, while measures are your numeric data. As I told you, then when you put together, they help visualizing and performing the dimensions data with respect to the data which are measures. So once you do that, you choose a category, and let's say in that case, I have choose a subcategory and sales, but you can also choose category and region and sales as well. So based on that, you will get your data set. You drag and drop the following as mentioned in the screenshots, and you get your results. So they have created a table view. You can create any of the visuals, like you can apply your visualization technique. Now, there is one thing which is there, that in the previous step, you saw that the data is available only in numbers. So that number is nothing but a view of a table. Just simple table you've been shown. So that I can also show you over here. So if I simply go and check on this table, so this is something which is a visual of the table that based on my, and in fact, I can put on some more data that based on the categories and based on the states, I have the data available. So this is something which is called as your numbers table. So accordingly, you can really have any visuals applicable to here. If you want, you can have like a map over here. Or if not, you want to create a table or maybe a type of a box and whiskers chart, or any sort of a chart you want to create, you can just simply create that. Completely your choice. Okay. So that's how, and these are the steps basically written over here. So that's how you can visualize your data. Now, let's suppose if you want to add some color, maybe some colors in your data or something of that sort. Let's take a small data set so that it's maybe easily understandable. Let's take something else. Let's say take this chart only, and maybe take the category and probably the region. So probably that. And here I can basically put this region on the colors. Chart in, keeping it here. So now you can see based on each region, my data sets is divided. So these are something called as the marks, where you can have color, you can increase, decrease the size. You can have labels if you want to show the labels of the data. If you want to show any detail, like this way, these are tooltips where you can enter. So whatever I hover over here, and I see that it's a category furniture, region is East, and the profit number is 3046. So if you want to add anything on the tooltip, if you want to remove anything from the tooltip, so you can do that. If you don't want to show the tooltip, just uncheck this box, click on OK. And once you hover, you won't have a tooltip to show for. Completely your choice. How you want to keep it. So these are some of the details and a basic formatting of the chart that we do in our Tableau. Now, this is something which is called as legends. You can move it over here if you want. Legends comes in when you put something on the colors. if you have a different colors, like for example, herein, I have divided the category in the based on any region. So my region would lead to a legend over here. Based on different colors, my categories have been divided. So that's why it shows up as a region as my legend over here. So these are the legends. If you want, you can show them, or if you want, you can hide them. In fact, if you have an option to change the colors as well. So you can just simply go over here, click on edit colors, and you can just simply edit the legends from here. Like, let's say I will choose something of like this, and I will assign the palette and I will apply and I'll say okay. So this is something which you can do. You can format your legends as well. You can change the font, you can change the alignment, you can change the body of that. If you want any shading, if you want any border, you can do that. Similarly, if you want to show the title, you can show that. If you want to not show the title, you can uncheck that. If you want to edit the title and rename it to something else, you can do that. Or maybe just bring it to the center, you can do that as well. Highlight selected segments. So see, it gets highlighted. Like this way, if you want to keep it included. If you want to sort it, maybe in a descending order, you can do that. Then we have an option to hide it. You can hide that also. And any which ways. So these are some options on the sheet when we create a chart. Apart from that, there is an option of page if you want. So this is basically a page name if you want to add for. By default, it shows up. If you want to hide that, you can hide it. Then we have an option of filter, wherein let's say if I want to put a filter on my region column, I want to put a filter over here for the region column and I apply and click on it. And based on that filter, if I want to change this data, for example, I have an option to edit the filters, wherein I can select from a list of filters. I can custom my value list of filters. Custom means if I want to have a custom list of filters, I can do that. If I want to use all, I can use it. So that's a general setting that I have. Apart from that, if I want to have any wildcards entries, for example, if something starts with A or something ends with A, B, something of that sort, or maybe an exact match, or maybe I want to have some conditions where is only the values that contains maybe the region that maybe the data coming from west, I want to include them. So I'll use that case. Then conditions. Condition means if I want to have a profit sum, which is equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to, by that way, if I want to apply for, I can do that. I can have a minimum and maximum value of range. If I want to add a formula over here, I want to click that, I can do it. Then next come is the top 5 and bottom 5. I'm just giving you a gist, but we'll do what is top 5 and bottom 5. Generally, what is top 5? Let's say from whole list of categories, I just want to show what are the top performing categories that I have in a particular region. So in that case, I can use a top 5 or a top 5 for that case. I can just click on the field and I can apply for a top or a bottom 5 performing conditions based on the profit column or region column or whatever. Or if I want to apply a formula based on a top and bottom performing, I can do that. So that is about the filters. And next is if you want to show the filters, you can simply show it over here. Then show highlighter. You can highlight a region. Let's say I highlighted this region, or maybe I highlighted this region, so it will show only the highlighted region over here. Then clear filter. If you want to clear the filter, you can do it. Add to context, I'll tell you this later when we do the different types of filters all together. Apply to worksheet. So from here, you can choose which worksheets to apply for. Do you want to apply to all the worksheets that is there, or only you want to apply to which is using it, the related data source, which use the column region, you want to apply to that, or you want to use it to all the data sources or the selected worksheet, like according to your preference or according to your selections you want to use for, you can do that. You can sort it. You can clear the sort, you can create sets, you can like have, it's a measure, so you can have a count, distinct, maximum, minimum, or if you want to remove the filter, you can remove that as well. So this is about the filters option over here in the pane. Coming back to PPT. So like the way I created the charts, similar way you can see it in a snippet. Now coming on to the design flow. Now design flow is something that how actually the system design of Tableau works. How the data flows, how the system design of Tableau basically works. So how it works is, you first connect to a data source, you build a data view, you enhance the data view. So first you connect to a data source. After you connect to a data source, you build your data views. Data views in the sense you enhance the data set, you connect with the data set, you do all of them. Then you enhance your data views. Enhance your data views means you enhance the data, like the way you want to connect with the data and you want to do everything, you enhance your data. Then you create the worksheets. So this is something which is called as the worksheet, and you create the worksheet over here. Then next is you create and organize your dashboard. So once my sheets are created over here, I organize them in a simple dashboard like this way. And then finally you create a story. So an interactive story, which is a form of a presentation in the form of a PPT, you can just simply create those stories over here so that it's much more interactive to view. We will be covering all of these topics, so don't worry about that. But right now, I'm just giving you an overview of everything. So this is how basically your Tableau data flow works on. And this is how it exactly works in a way. Okay. Now moving on to the next. There are some terms and meaning which you always know whenever you start working and whenever you complete with the basics of it. So they are, first is an alias. Alias is nothing but an alternative name that you assign to a field. So whenever you insert a data or whenever you select the data into the Tableau, whatever the name of the columns that is there in your Excel file or maybe any source of data source is there, that will be the name that will be shown up in your Tableau as well. But let's suppose if you want to give that, give it a different name to any of the column. Let's say I want to rename this product name to just name. So I can just change the alias of anything. Alias means I can change any name of it. Any of the product name, I can change the name of this. So that is called a changing of alias. Bin, it's basically a user-defined grouping measure in a data source. So we have an option to create bin over here. We'll obviously going to do that. But if you create on any column and you go to create, have the option to create group, and this group is nothing but the group is called as a bin. Then bookmarks. Bookmarks is there in Tableau repository, like they are the .tbm file that contains a single worksheet. Like for example, you bookmark a work page or a workbook, the same way we bookmark it, and it's a convenient way to quickly display different analysis. Calculated fields. Calculated fields are basically the new field that you create by using a formula or you modify the existing field in your data source. So calculated field option you basically get from this anchor, You can have the option to create calculated field. Then there's an option of a crosstab. Crosstab is nothing. For example, if there is a chart which is created in a form of a presentation and you want to see it, that same visual presented in a form of a table, then you want to see it in a form of a text and number, then you basically go ahead and use a crosstab in that case. So crosstab helps you to view that data in that way. So that is called as a crosstab view. Okay. That's called a now dashboard. Dashboard is a combination of several views arranged on a single page. So this is what you see as a dashboard. Now here, each and every is a page, is a combination of a page that you see over here. That's one page. This is one of a page. So this is called as a dashboard, which is a combination of different pages altogether. Data pane. Data pane, I told you, data pane is nothing, but data pane is something over here. This is your data pane. Data source page. Data source page is this page. This is called as a data source page. Okay. Dimensions, a field of categorical data, basically. So a categorical data field that is there. Categorical field means dimensions which hold discrete data or in hierarchy members that cannot be aggregated. For example, dates, customer names, customer segments, all of these. Okay. So these are called as your basic dimensions. So that was about the first session of having the introduction, how Tableau works, how it looks, how is the interface, how everything works on, how we see on the data set, everything is there in detail, which I explained. And this is how we work on it. So this is all about the basic step of introduction, how interface looks like, how it works, and how everything is shown up. So this is about your Tableau, which is easy to install, easy to get. And this was about the Tableau dashboard that we all have over. So let's just start today with Tableau charts, dashboards, and the storylines. What are the different charts that we have in Tableau? Let's see for them. So the first chart that we have is a bar chart. Now, if you want to represent a bar chart, so bar chart is nothing but a rectangular representation with length, with a proportion value and a variable. So basically, it produces a sort of a bar chart wherein you can just produce it very simply by just dragging and dropping on the categories, on the rows and the columns and everything. And you can just simply prepare that bar chart along with it. So this is a kind of snippet. So let's just see on the Tableau how we can create a simple bar chart. Let's just come on the dashboard. So if I see over onto my chart section and I will have a look. So this is kind of something which is there. And if you see over here, this is a simple bar chart which we have created. So how it's very simple, like very simple to drag and drop, how you can do it. So I'm opening a new worksheet. Let's take a new worksheet, open it up, and let's create a bar chart. So basically for a bar chart, you can have like normally any of the column. Let's say for this, I'll take the segment. And based on the segment, I might take the discounts, sum of discounts, and the bar chart is created. So now if you want to flip it over, you can swap rows and columns. You can just click on this option and it will swap for you. Then if you want to like sort it from ascending to descending, you can do that. Descending to ascending, you can do that. If you want to show the labels, you can show up the labels. If you want to have a fit width, you can do that. If you want to have the fit height, you can do it. And if you want to show it in the entire screen, you can do it. So here in my case, first of all, I have created a simple bar chart, which was based on my excess subcategories and the profits. So if you see, these are the profits. These are my subcategories. So this is a very simple bar chart that we have created. Now you can format it accordingly. So for formatting, basically I can go over here, I can edit the axis. And if I want to like give a title, I can give it. If not, then I can simply leave. In fact, I can simply delete the title as well. If there was any title which come up, I can delete it. Simply like from here, I can just press a backspace and I can delete that up. So that is one thing which we can do while we create a bar chart. Now, if you want to format that, you can go ahead, just right click on the axis and go to format. And here you can format your data. Like you can select whatever font you want to, select from here, the size you want to, bold, italic, maybe the colors by which you want to represent. Then if you want to have a shading color, if you want, in the case of numbers, you can set up the numbers according to your choice. You can have the alignment like normal, up, or maybe down, like that way. So whatever you want to, you can do that. In fact, for the title also, you can simply have the format and fonting of it as you want. Now here, these are for excesses. And pane is something when you hover over it and when you see the information, so that is something which represents as a pane. So here you can also do those changes, whatever you feel like to do, basically. So that is about a simple bar chart which is created in Tableau. And on basis of that, you can just do all the formattings and everything, whatever required. Now coming on to the next part, which is your bar chart with some color ranges. If you want to show some bar charts with some color ranges, then in that case, you can show it in this way. So this is something wherein you can put up some color ranges as well. So color ranges is nothing, but it's a normal bar chart. So if you can see, I have used the same bar chart over here. And here I have put the like the profit on the color. So it has showed me the variations of the color. So the negative ones are on the lighter side and the positive ones or the higher number are on the more deeper side. So if you go ahead and edit the colors, you can select the type of colors you want to, and you will see the negative or the numbers which are quite less are on your lighter shades, and the numbers as you go on to a very higher number, the color becomes more deeper and deeper. So here you have an advanced option also that you can set up a start and an end number or an end point as well. And in fact, you can have a center also if you want to set up for. That's completely your choice how you want to set it up. So that was about whenever you want to have the bar charts with different color ranges, or you can have colors based on any of the categories, any of the segments, or maybe any of the region, then you can have that like this way. Then the next we have is a stack bar chart. So stack bar chart is nothing, but basically when we stack the bar across each other, that is called as a stack bar chart. Like stack means on the basis or like stacking against one another, like in a form of a pillar. That's called as a stack bar chart. Now, how we create a stack bar chart? Let's have a look on that. Okay, so this is a stack bar chart. So this is something what we see as a stack bar chart. So it's pretty simple, nothing as in complex that we have. So if you see, we have an option over here of having a stack bar chart. So if you see, there's an option of a stack bar chart that we can create very easily. So we can do that for sure. Now, how we can do that? Like you can see, I have put the sum of sales in the rows. and I have put the subcategories on my column and simply the segment on the colors. Once I put it up, my stack bar chart is created. So for each segment, I have the sales number. As simple as that. So you can simply convert a normal chart also to a stack bar chart as required. So like the way I just created a chart like this. Okay. And if you want to convert that to a stack bar chart, so nothing of that you want to think for. You can either have it in this form, or if you want to convert into a stack bar chart in normally over here, just put your maybe the region on the colors and see that's a stack bar chart for you. And you click this option and your stack bar chart is ready. So this is how also you can create a stack bar chart. By converting your bar chart and just putting up a color, just adding a color column, and it will help you to create a stack bar chart very easily. So that's how we create the stack bar chart. Okay. Now, coming on to the other topics that we have over here, the next one, which is a line chart. The line chart is basically a presentation of line on the data set. That's a line chart. Basically a very simple line chart wherein you have a line to represent it. So let's see how we can create a line chart over here. So line chart is very simple. You just need to have the data set. So you can have the data set and you can just simply click on the line and create it. So I have created a line chart based on my ship mode and the sum of sales. So if you hover over it, you can see the ship mode, like what is the ship mode and what is the sales across in each of them. So if you go to show me, you have the option of line chart over here. Basically, you need a dimension and a measure to produce a line chart. That's it. And you're good to go with the line chart. Or if you don't want to go it from here, you can just simply change it from here. So from here, I can change it to a bar. If I want, I can change it to a line as well. From this marks part also, I can change my chart as per my requirements. So that was about my line chart. Now, the next chart that we have is a line chart with labels. So whenever on the line chart, you provide some labels, then it is called as a line chart with labels. So here also, in this case, let's say if I highlight the labels for you, so this is something which is called as a line chart with labels. So right now it's a standard width, but yeah, this is something which we can see, a line chart with label. Okay. Next is a pie chart. So pie chart is something which we see when we want to create a combination of the chart. So generally, always remember, pie chart is never created in the combination when we have a very large number of data in any particular column. For example, on the basis of states or on the basis of country, I can't create a sales report or any profits across the country in a pie chart, because that will be very much of a it's like it will be very much uneasy to see on the eyes. Basically, that's the first thing that we can say, that it's very uneasy to see on the eyes also, and it's like very much disturbing because lots of charts coming into picture looking for it, so it doesn't look good at in any which case. So that's why we generally use pie charts when we want to define for some small segments or for some small categories. For example, when we have like a gender relationship where we want to see that, let's say I have a data wherein I have some population and I want to just see the population, that how much is the population of men and women. So for that reason, we can create a pie chart. So like in our case also, when we see a pie chart in our case, so we do create the pie chart in this way, wherein we see like a pie chart based on region. I am creating it. So I have just created a simple pie chart. Nothing I have done here. I have just taken the region And I have created the sum of profit on the region. So if you hover based on the region, you can see the sum of profits. And these are your region on the color. So based on each of the color, you have the different regions available. So you can change the colors over here also. As I told you earlier, you can go over here, you can have a range applied to it. You can assign the palette to your data set. You can apply them and you can for sure change that colors. And that's it. Okay, so that's about the pie chart for us. Now, next, there is a very important concept, which is drill down on the pie chart. So whenever you provide a drill down information on the pie chart. Now, for example, here, if you see on my case, I have provided a pie chart wherein for each of the region, I am showing the profits. But if I want to just divide that profit based on the category, or I want to change that based on any of the categories or anything. So that means I'm drilling down my data, right? Here I'm drilling down my data on that front. So how I can do that? I can basically do that by, if I say, my bad. So see, on the basis of this, on the base of office supplies, on the base of region, on the base of everything, I can see this drill down option. So what I have drilled down over here is basically on the basis of my subcategory, which I have provided on the color part, and on the basis of the category, I am showing up the profits. And these colors are basic representation of the various categories. So if you hover, you will see the category is technology, the subcategory is accessory, and we are showing the profit. So basically that is drilling down your pie chart in a firm. That's what we call as a drill down of a pie chart, like making it to a more granular level of the data set. Then next we go ahead with the scatter charts. So scatter charts are basically used whenever we want to show anything which is based on the scattering of the data, or maybe in a small representation of the data, or maybe scattered in a way that we want to show how much the sales and profit looks like based on the variations. So basically on the basis of the variations, when we want to show it. So then in that case, we go ahead with this chart. Okay, so that's called a scatter chart. So let's see how we create a scatter chart over here. So this is the scatter chart. So here, scatter chart is very easy. For the scatter chart, we need 2 dimension columns. Basically, if you go over here also and you see, you don't need any dimensions column. You just need the measure columns over here whenever you create a scatter chart. So I have taken that only to create a scatter chart. Once I created it, I went to automatic and I selected this. So basically, I'll go ahead and use a circle for that, or maybe shapes for that reason. So from the shapes, I can basically select any of the shapes over here. Whatever shapes I want to select for, if I want to keep it a square, I can keep it. If I want to keep it like this, I can keep it. So this is also a kind of a scatter chart as well. So I basically, from my marks card, I'll go to the shapes and I'll create a scatter chart along it. So herein, if you see for various scatter charts, you can see the various categories according to it, or across it, I would say, to be much more precise. Now, the next is when we go ahead with a scatter chart with color encoded. Color encoded means for every category, for example, for each and every category, we have a different shape of that chart. Like if, let's say, if it is accessories, so that can be a triangle. If it is in appliances, that can be maybe a circle. So that's way you can apply different shapes to it so that they are a bit more distinguished in a case. So that also can be done. So similarly, the way you have created a chart, you just need to So the category on the shapes. Like if I talk about in this case also, I can do that with. So if there is subcategory on colors, I just need to bring the category on my shape section. As soon as I bring it, obviously I can change the shapes as well. I can edit those shapes as per mine. So these are default. By default, they come up. If I want to fill it with something else, obviously I can do that. I have assigned the palettes. I can click on apply and my shapes got changed. In fact, if you want, you can also apply your own palette. So how can you apply your own shapes or anything of that sort? You have to just go to the Tableau repository over here. So if I go to my documents, I go to my Tableau repository and I go to shapes over here. I can really upload any shape which I want. Like these are something which are already available by default. But if I want to upload anything like I have uploaded a coffee image, so I can surely do that. Or any sort of KPIs I can do, anything. Like that's completely my choice, how I want to do it or how not I want to do it. So based on that, I can really change those. And once I upload that, I have to come to Tableau, I have to close that and I have to open it again. Or if you don't want to do that, just come to your shapes and just click on the reload shapes and you will see the new shapes that are coming over here. So if you see, my coffee shape is already there. So if I want to assign that to the palette, then it will be assigned to each of them. So see, I can apply an image also in that case. You cannot in fact apply shapes, but you can in fact apply some different things as well. Okay. So that was about the scatter charts with your granularity, that with a color encoded. Now we come on to the tree map. So tree map is something which is like a combination wherein you divide the data on the basis of some of the basic data sets. That's what we call as a tree map in any case, wherein it divides the data into a form of segments or a color encoded square field, which helps you to justify your data. Basically displays the data in a nested rectangles in a small word, which has a dimension to define the structure of a tree map and measure to define the size of the color. So how we divide that and how we create that, let's have a look on that field as well. So that is my tree map. So now if you remember, if I would say that tree map, if you go to show me, you will see that in case of a tree map, which is my this tree map, I need one or more than one dimension and I can have one or more than one measure in this case. So how I can create that? Basically, I have created it on the basis of shift mode and the sum of profits. So now whenever I create a tree map, so I can have and I can create, like you don't have to go to map. You basically just create an automatic of it and you click on square. So once you click on square, you will have those squares available and it will be created for you. So here you will have the option of size and in the size you can provide the profit. So the larger rectangle box having a larger profit and the smaller rectangle block means having a smaller profit. That's what is shown by a tree map. So tree map basically shows you how the profits have been divided across different regions or across different classes of the data set. Sorry. Next, we have a text chart. Text chart is nothing but a simple presentation of a tabular form of a data set that we have, that we present, and that is there in your data set. So how that is presented, let's have a look. Let me just put this up. Let me just move this up for more better view. So that's a text chart. So basically, text chart is nothing but a tabular representation form of a chart. It can be a single representation or maybe multiple categories according to that, the sales numbers or the profit numbers you can show over here. So based on the subcategory, I'm showing the sales profit over here. That is what is my text chart. If you don't want to present it and you want to have the total subcategory sum or maybe the total subcategory numbers or just the numbers, then you can have the total of it also. That way also works. Now there is the option of what we say as a heat map. Now, what is a heat map? Like we all say that there is a heat map, but what is a heat map in Tableau? So heat map is nothing. It's a basically highlighted table. It's a sort of a table which is highlighted based on the occurrences or based on the color codes that you choose for. So that's in a different term also called as a heat map. It's called as heat map or a highlighted table. So like for example, over here, I have put my discounts as on the size. So based on the different colors and that, so based on the different colors, it shows me the discount and the profit on my heat map over here. So heat map just require a common category like a subcategory, and based on that, you create the profits and you create all the discounts and everything. So like this way, it basically works on the heat map and all of that stuff and everything. So that is the heat map or a highlighted table. You can just simply have an highlighted table over here also. Like the way we created the text chart, like the way we created the text chart, you can have an highlighted table here also. You can just have to click on this, which is a heat map or highlighted table, and you will get it. So the more smaller or in negative, it will have more smaller size. And for the much bigger one, it will have the much bigger size. That's it. You can create in that way also. That's how we create our heat map. Then the next chart that we have is a side-by-side chart, a side-by-side bar chart. So basically representing the chart side by side. Now in this side-by-side bar chart, we would have two measures. Like for example, based on my categories or my subcategories, I'll be showing a profit and a discount. Like that way, I'm going to work on it. So that is a side-by-side bar chart that we have over here. So let's see how we create that. A simple side-by-side bar chart that is created wherein I have a category, and here I have just taken the discounts and the profits. So if you see, I can show you the two different colors. So let's assign them two different other colors for a change. So my discount is somewhat in like blue or deep blue, and my profit is in light blue. So this is my discount and this is my profit. So that's a side-by-side representation of the chart that we can see. If you want to sort it across, you can sort it like this way. So that's a side-by-side bar chart that we have in Tableau. Now, there's an interesting chart which is there in place, which is a waterfall chart. Now, what do we understand by waterfall chart? So does it mean that a waterfall chart is what? Waterfall chart is basically an effective display of cumulative or sequential positive and negative values. So when you have a data wherein you have negative and positive numbers, like the way we have profit and losses, if you want to represent in a way, then it's better to show it in a waterfall chart, because in that case, you will be easily able to see that, okay, if the number is going down, that means it is on a, like it's going from high and going low and like this. So that means it will show where the value starts and how it is incrementing. So basically how it is incrementing, how it is decrementing, it will show you all of these things. Where it incremented, where it not. So all of these things it will actually show. So how we create a waterfall chart is quite interesting. Let's have a look. It's pretty simple. What you have to do is that So in case of a waterfall chart, what I have done, I have just simply first taken up the ship mode, this column, and in the rows, I have taken the sales. Now here, if you go to this, I have a quick table calculation and I've just given it a running total. So it's a normal bar chart that I have taken. Basically, I have created a normal bar chart. Let's say this is one of my bar charts. Let me just remove this. Let me bring down. Let's take the ship mode. Let's take the sales. So somewhat a bar chart. I'll swap it like this way. Now I'll sort it up. And now here I'll come. I'll just have a quick table calculation and I'll add a running total. So you see, it has been like decreasing in the sense. So same day has the most highest running table across. Now I'll come to this automatic and I'll take out this Gantt part and see it is going to get on it. Now, once I create this, I'll just increase the size. So it's going to increase a bit like that way. So see, you can see some charts and everything falling on. Now what you can do, you can either bring the sales from here, like you can just press a control and bring the sum of size sales over here. Or you can drag it from here and keep it on the sides. And then probably you can have an average of it. Sorry, my bad, not this one, but you can bring a sales over here. So from here, you bring it to the size and you can just convert it to an maybe to an average or not to an average. So keep it as a sum only. So then it will create a chart for you in that case. Similarly, like the way I have created over here. And now in this case, what you can do as you want to see it, how it is progressing or how it is showing. So if I want to show it in the average, so we were lastly saying that when we were doing average, it goes to this line. So rather than doing this, just go over here, just double click on this and probably not. Just keep it sum and probably what you can do is just enter a minus in front of it and enter. See, it will move from a negative. So it will start from your 0 value and accordingly it will start. So it will show you that what is the sum of sales and then you can basically change that. So here you will see that for the negative also this is going and for the positive also this is going. So this is an aggregated form so that it comes to a basic 0 line. So it should start from a 0 line and then it should go up. So for that purpose, I just did it as a negative. And then you want to increase the size, you can do that. You want to decrease the size, you can do that. Whatever you feel like, if you want to increase the size more, you can do that. Completely your choice. You want to show the labels, you can do it. You don't want to, you can not keep it. That's your choice. So this is what is a waterfall chart. Next we have is a funnel chart. Or a bubble chart. Let's say bubble chart, not a funnel chart, but a bubble chart. So bubble chart is nothing but a combination of bubbles that we have is something which is called as a bubble chart. Now, bubble chart is also something which kinds of people confuses with the pie chart. So bubble chart is also when we want to show for the less of a numbers of entries or the less of a number of data. In that case, we use a bubble chart. Rather than for more numbers or for more explicit view, we don't go ahead with the bubble chart in any which ways. So let's see how we create a bubble chart. Very simple. Just create a bar chart normally, like the way it is there. Let's say I create a bar chart. Let's say I have a simple normal bar chart and I want to just transform it to bubble. I'll just create a bubble over here. I'll just go and select a bubble and my bubble chart will be done. So the more bigger size, that means more sales, and the more smaller size, that means the less number of sales. That is what shows. Okay. So that's what we say as a bubble chart for it. Now the next chart that we have is a funnel chart. So funnel chart is something which is like a funnel type of a thing, which we have over here, which helps you to basically have a funnel way of a thing. Now, basically, that is your funnel chart. And that is what funnel chart is all about. Like it's a funnel type of a thing, which is from higher to lower sense of data created. That is called a funnel chart. So funnel chart is a type of visualization that helps in a linear workflow, but in a descending order. It will show you the data in a descending order, like the way it KPIs are basically a pyramid sort of a chart, you say. So that's what it say for a funnel chart as well. Like for this, basically you don't need anything, but for the funnel chart creation, just easy steps to create a funnel chart. Nothing is required. Like you just have to open a table. Now, let's say in my case, I will just open a table and I would just put a data step over here. And let's say for this only, if I take, let me clear this up and let's create a funnel chart. Yeah, so my sheet is clear. Now I would add a sales. I would add my sales to the row section like this. And I would add my segments to the color section. Let's take it automatic. So this is how it will show me. Now what I will do, I will take the sales again. I can either take it from here. I'll just take it and I'll drop it on the size. So you see, it's just squeezed up with that size. Now I will make this as an entire view so that it comes in a view. So you can see that it's a sort of a funnel type of a thing that has been created. And now it appears like a funnel. So now I will add both the segment and the sales in the dimension, like on the labels. Like I'll take the segment and I'll put it on the label. I'll take the sales and I'll put it on the label. So now you can see the sales and the segments over here on the label. So that is how you create a simple and an easy funnel chart. That's what we do over here also. So that was your funnel chart in that case. Now, as you create charts and you have multiple charts to create for, now, if you are representing someone or you want to represent it to the higher people or a higher level of people, how are you going to represent it? Are you going to represent it in the form of a database or anything of that sort? Sorry. No, you are not. Actually, you are going to combine it in the form of a dashboard. Now, what is a dashboard? Dashboard is nothing, but it's a form of an place or a combination of all the charts coming together into one place, which can also be termed as your combination of charts. So that is what we call as a dashboard. What is a dashboard? A collection of several views. In lame terms, it's a collection of several views that comes up, which helps you to compare a variety of data simultaneously. For example, if you have a set of views that you review every day, you can create a dashboard out of that. in one place. Rather than you want to navigate to different charts, you can create a combination in one view. Now, how we do that? Like this. For example, like this view, I can have it in one. Rather than moving onto different charts, going to different sheets and creating it, I can simply have a dashboard over here. I can simply have a simple dashboard created over here, based on which I can just simply move my charts. I can work on this rather than going to different sheets and showing it. It's presentable to show it in a form of an interactive chart in any which ways. Here, I can just apply some filters also in the charts. So let's say if I want to show for appliances, so see, my bar chart change simply to the appliances and show me data for appliances. Similarly, if in the segments I want to show for home offices, I will able to see the data for home offices over here. I'll just uncheck it. I'll show for corporate. I'll able to see for corporate. Now, if I want to see it in the middle of the range, I can see that. In fact, you can apply these to all the other charts as well. So if you go over here and you say to the selected worksheets, so you can really apply the changing of the chart to all of them. Now, if I just wanted to change it to chairs, so we'll see for each of the chart, it will show me the data for the chairs only. In fact, for the stack bar chart also, for the different categories or something, it gets to like consumer charts, you get to different segments over here. So this is how we create an interactive dashboards, and this is what we actually share to the client. So whenever we talk of sharing a dashboard or anything, we actually share an interactive dashboards. We don't share the worksheets. The dashboard is something which is presentable. Why? Because if you see over here, this has an option of presenting mode. Something of this sort is something seen. So it's sort of a PPT where you have everything combined, a filter, a filter to be applied for the data, some changes, some action controls, everything you will have for the data changes. Like in this case, if I want to change it, I want to change it for any of the controls, I want to change it for any of the data sets, I can do it. So this is how an interactive dashboard is created. Then next come is our storyline. Storyline is mostly the another or a major advance of a dashboard. That's what we called as a storyline. So storyline in Tableau is something which is a sequence of visualization that work together to convey an information. So as we created a dashboard, we can create a storyline, which is a form of a presentation that can be presented, but in a more precise way. So dashboard is also one of a kind of presentation. Similarly, a storyline is also one of a kind of presentation that we have in the dashboard, in the data sets. That is a more granular and more precise way over here. So here, if I go like this, chart by chart or sheet by sheet, I can have the different dashboards combined together. So in storyline, you can only show the dashboards. You can't show any type of sheets or anything. Like you can bring only the dashboards. So here, if I want to add one more, I can just simply drag and drop it over here. And you can say like other charts. Its name is as this, and you're good to go. Now you can just simply click on that, and you can see all the charts over here. So it's like a storyline presentation that is shown over here to you. Or you may click on these arrows also to go back. So it's a more precise way of showing it. The much granular level of the data, or the more precise story data, wherein it represents and form as a presentation that you can go from a slide to slide or something of that sort. So worksheets are basically where you create your visuals. Dashboard is a combination of all the worksheets that you form inside a dashboard to present it. And storyline is a more granular level where you put it in a sort of a presentation form and you move from data to data or from dashboard to dashboard in a presentable view so that you can move from one slide to another slide of a way. Okay. So that was about our interactive dashboards and everything and the storyline. Today, we are going to learn something about Tableau joins. What are the calculated fields and what are parameters? So let's get going. The first thing that we have is a join. Now, what are joins? Joins are a very common requirement. So as you understand by the term join, join is nothing but when we are trying to combine the two data sets together, then that is called as a join. Basically, like let's say I have an employee table and I have a salary table of various employees. So if I want to combine those two data sets or the two tables together so that I can get an output wherein I can get the respective salaries of the employee from the salary table. So basically, I can join this data together. Now to join the data, there is a very common requirement that in both the tables, you should have one common column available on the basis of which you will join. Like in my example, for the employee and the salary table, I would have the employee ID as a common key to join the data together so that I can join two data sets together and that would help me to create a combined table which will help me of giving the information of employee ID, their names and their respective salaries. So that will take place in the data in your Tableau as well. Now, how it is done? So data joining is very common requirement in any data analysis. You may need to join a data from multiple sources or join from different tables in a single source. That's what we do while we join the data together. Now, Tableau provides you the feature to join the table by using a data pane available under. So this is where you get the data option menu. So let's see how we get it on our Tableau. Let's say if this is my dashboard, I'll go to the section of data source over here. So now you can see three tables coming up. One is an order table, one is a people table, and one is a return table. Let's say I want to combine this people and the order table together. So I'm just simply going to drag this table, and as soon as I drag on, you'll be able to see that a line has been created. This line is nothing, but it is trying to join the data together. Now see, this data has been joined. Now, if you would just double click on this line or like this, you will able to see that on the basis of the column region in both the tables, the data has been joined. So the relationship between both the tables have been established by using the column region. Okay. So that's how we have joined the data table together. Now, if let's suppose I want to bring anything with these two tables. So I have people table also, and I have the orders table also. So let's say on the basis of category, or I want to see how many regional managers are there. So see, I can get that for these categories, these are regional managers, or also for the state, for the various states, what are the respective regional managers would be there. So this is what my regional manager list is there. So that means I was successfully able to combine the data together so that from my orders table, I can bring the state over here. And from the people's table, I can bring the regional manager from here and I can get the data together. Okay. So that was a simple concept of having a join. Now, the next concept comes in as editing a join type. So the type of the join that tables create automatically, you can change that manually as well. For example, if you want to change them to any of the join or you want to edit them in any of which ways, so you can do that. So let's say, for example, in this case, If let's suppose I want to edit this connection, I can add more fields from here, like maybe based on the region over here, or maybe I have any common column, or I can create it, or I can use a calculation, like I can write a calculation also to create a relationship. Because sometimes it can be a case that sometimes you don't have a common column in both the table. Rather, you have to create that common column by either using a formula or anything of that sort. For example, let's say if I would say that if I want to join the employee and the salary table on the basis of the name, then in that case, it might happen that two people might have the same name. So that's not a unique set of data. So that's why what I'm going to do is that I'll consider the employee ID and the name of both of them, or maybe the first and the last name of both of them, and then I'm going to combine that data together. Or maybe in a scenario wherein it can happen that the first and the last name of both the persons are same, then in that case, I'll use the official email IDs, because that is something that would be different when the two people have same name, completely same name. Then in that case, when organization creates your ID, they would obviously give some of the different specification, maybe an extra letter or something, so that they would have the bifurcations to share the mail or maybe check against to set up your ID basically. So in that case also, we need to create a formula to do that. So that's the concept of editing your mail or editing your join fields that you have. Now next comes a data blending. Now what is a data blending? Data blending is nothing, but it's a powerful feature in Tableau. Data blending is basically when you are blending the two data together. Now, there is a very huge difference between a data blending and a data join. Data join is something different. Data blending is something different. It's a part of powerful feature which is used when there's a related data in a multiple data sources. Like for example, you have related data based on multiple data sources where you want to analyze them in a single view. So basically, that's what it means. Now, what is blending of the two data sets together? Okay, so that what it is called as a data blending. Now, there is a huge difference between your data blending and joining. There is a huge difference between them. So data blending basically stimulates a traditional left join. Okay, whereas a join combines the data and then aggregates it. So blending, first of all, it will perform an aggregation first and then it will join the data together. Whereas in case of joining, it will first join the data and then perform an aggregation. So these are two different parts altogether. Now, for example, let's consider that you have a sales data. And there is another table which have a sales target data. And now you want to combine that data together. So obviously in the sales data and your sales target data, you will have something in common like the sale ID or maybe something of that sort. So based on that sale ID, you're going to combine that. But that is combined inside the view, like the worksheets, and not on the data source front. We don't combine it on the data source front. So Tableau has two inbuilt data sources. Basically, there is a sample superstore and coffee superstore, which used to illustrate the data blend. Now, how we do the data blending? Let's see an example. Let's say I'll add in another maybe. So okay, let me just check once and take the data. Okay. So let's say in this table, I want to blend the data together and I just bring in another data source. From here, I bring this data. So now there is one data source of sample superstore and I have data over here. Let's say I bring the orders table together. I bring that. And I have a coffee table together. Now, if let's say I want to see the data, I told you that we can view the data all together. In fact, you can export the data also. So this is a sort of data that we have over here. If you want to export all the data together, you can export it as a full data in the form of a CSV file and you can save it up. So let's say in this case, if I want to combine these two data sets together, okay, how I'm going to combine them? Obviously, the first thing is that if you see this data set, it has a state as common column. And in this also, you will find the state as your data set. So on the basis of state, I can combine the data together. Here also we have state. See, here also we have state. Now, you see this green mark. As soon as I click on this will become a data blended data altogether. So let's suppose now in this case, if I want to see the states across from my sample superstore data, I want to bring the states, like I have combined on the basis of the states, I'm blending the data, and I want to see for the different segments of the data. So that's why there is a, oh, sorry, I have not created a relationship, my bad. So then I will bring the segment table here, and now you can see that we can have the different segments. Based on that, we are seeing the data of its type. Or let's suppose I bring the state only from here. So see, for that state, from this table, I'm able to see the product types, and all of them together. So this is basically a concept of data blending, where where you basically set up a relationship between the two tables. Now it doesn't matter if that relationship have a common the value in the common column have the uniqueness or not. Doesn't matter with that. But there is a relationship which is set up. So this is called as a data blending. Now in data blending, you will see, if I'll show you as a step, this is secondary data sources that you need to add for. So every time you are adding a data, or you are combining with the data or doing the stuffs like that, so then you will see there's an orange mark. So this orange mark is nothing but it's a secondary table which is combined this table, and then it is working on with the data sets. This is how it works with the data, and this is how we work with the data as well. So that is what is data blending for us. Now you can integrate the data from both the above sources based on a common dimension. Like for example, if you have a small chain image that needs to have a next dimensions in state and indicates a common dimensions between two data sources, then you can drag the state field from a primary data source and to the row shelf, and then you can blend the data as per your requirement. So this is how the data blending works. Okay. Now coming on to the topic of calculated field. Now what is a calculated field? Calculated field is basically the calculations that we done, the simple calculations that we do, wherein to create some additional or some extra columns in that fact. That is called as the calculated field. Okay. So what are the topics that how you demonstrate? Like basically a simple calculation, for example, like addition of anything or subtraction of anything, or maybe concatenating the columns together, all these stuff. So that is called as the calculated field. Okay. That is called as your calculated field in a very normal term. So let's see how this topic works. So this topic basically, whenever you want to calculate a field, the steps are, you basically go into the worksheet. Let's see an example of using a calculated field. So let's say in this case, I want to have a calculated field. Now, how I can create a calculated field basically? So I need to either I can go to analysis, or I can go to create a calculated field, and whatever the calculations I want to create for, I can do that. For example, over here, I have done one calculation, which was of profit ratio. That's sum of profit divided by sum of sales, and I'm getting that profit ratio. So this was one of the calculation I did. So you can simply add up your calculations either from here. So if you click on this arrow also and click on calculated field, you will also get the data from here as well. Okay. So that can also be done. Okay. So that's how we can write our calculations and we can work on it. So as I have done over here, I have put this aggregated ratio, and then I'm going to see my calculated field over here. So that was about the calculated field. So these are the steps. You can enter the formula, calculations, and you're good to go. So there are some links where you have formatting calculations in Tableau or functions in Tableau, which you can open up and you can see all of them. Now, the next topic that comes in, and the last topic, in fact, that comes in their state is a parameter. So basically, what is a parameter now? So parameter is something which is like an, which is basically like an access to your more dynamic conditions. So basically, a parameter is something which is on a more dynamic field in Tableau. So parameter basically helps you to be more dynamic, more replacing. Like a parameter in a workbook can be a calculation for a date, for a string, for anything of that sort. And wherein you can basically write your calculations, can constant have a value creations and everything. So basically a parameter is nothing. Parameter is form of a dynamic of a work. So it's a workbook variable, such as you can create a variables and make it more dynamic as a form of a filter. So it acts like a form of a filter only, but in a more dynamical way. So you can have variables in numbers, in dates, a string, that you can replace the constant value in a calculation. So for example, when you want to make your calculations more dynamic in a way that you can apply a filter in your calculation to filter up that and make it more and more actually work and more dynamically working, then in that case, we go ahead and create a parameter. So that parameter can be created on calculations, on filters, on any reference line, anything of that sort, you can create it. You can in fact make the parameters more interactive by using a parameter action. So that's parameter action is which helps your audience to change a parameter value directly through interacting, such as by clicking or by selecting on a mark. So it can be a drop down, it can be anything. So the steps to make the parameter is, you can go to a data pane. So let's see an example of creating a parameter. So let's say I want to create a parameter for the reference date. Okay. Here I have created a parameter for a reference date. So if I go, either I can go to analysis and I can just go to, so in analysis, you see you have created field. Now, if you want to create a parameter, you can go to the arrow and you have a next option of create parameter. So from here, you can create a parameters like the way I have created of a reference state, which states that for your current value. So whatever the current value of the data or the date that you have. So basically it's a refresh date that till what date the data is being refreshed in your database. So I've created a refresh date of a value over here where it's a parameter. And herein, as soon as I change the date, let's say for 4th, and I enter it, the values get changed. Similarly, if I just go to the 8th one and I want to see the data, then accordingly the data will change. Now, this is how I created a parameter. But in this, obviously, I have created one. I have created also this data in this way. So this is how you create a parameter in your data sets or in the Tableau basically. We have screenshots available as well. So you can create a reference date, you can use a date, you can specify the value. So if you are taking a current value by default in a parameter, that means whatever the last or the updated value you will have, that will get configured. So once that is configured, you can go to the latest month and you can change it. You can display the format in which you want to specify it, and then it is good to go, and you can simply go ahead with your specific field. So in the specifications also, if you see, we have all list and range. So if I show you the parameter section where I was doing it, if you are creating a parameter, let's say a new parameter, you see all, list and range. So all is if you want to have all the values available. List is if you want to have a list of values available, like if I want to give it for a particular month. Then a range where I want to set up a range of minimum, maximum, and a step size of setting. That what we do in a top 10 cases or top 10 cases or top 20 cases. That's what a parameter is all about. So that's what we say for the parameter. So it allows you to basically set all is like a control, which is a simple text field. A parameter control, which possible value, which helps you to select from a list of the values. And a range is something which helps you to control or lets you select the value within a specific range of the data. Okay. Let's say if you want to specify any range, for example, if you want to specify that, okay, my data should be between Jan 1st to 31st of December 29, then there will be a step size to create for that. Basically 1 month control you will have, and these options will be available. Similarly, in case you want to refresh the parameter list or the value in the domain whenever your workbook's open or anything of that sort, so in that case, you can select the list, select when the workbook's open, notice it, and dynamically you can pull it out. So that time it gets grayed out and your data gets pulled and it gets refreshed. So you can click on OK. Now the parameter that was showing you the refresh date, it will show you the current date. So every time the data opens, it will show you the current or the refresh date from the data set. That's how your parameters basically work. So this is what is shown as a parameter in Tableau. I hope that helps you and that makes you a lot more understanding and provided you a detailed overview of what was about your parameters, about your joins, about your calculated field, and also about the creation of parameters and how the way you can create. Okay, so that was about the parameter section. So let's move on to the next one. And let's see what the next was stored for it. So let's start with the next. So the next is we are going to study about level of details. Now, what do we understand by the term level of details? So level of detail is nothing but whenever you want to run any type of a complex queries, which involves dimensions, which involves data source levels, and everything like dimensions is also included, some measures is also included, and also there are some filtrations on the data level. So rather than doing a filter on both of the terms and every of the thing, what we can do is that, like, in a simple way, if I want to apply a filter into my data set, so simply like in any of the dashboards where let's say I have a data wherein on the basis of my category group, or not a group, but basically on my product name, I can have the different states and maybe their sum of quantities. That's what I can see for, or maybe based on the different states, I can see for the quantities that I can do for, right? Now, here in this case, when I'm looking for the quantity, or probably I am taking the count of the quantities in this case, basically. So if you see in this case, I'm taking a distinct count of the quantities. So when I'm doing that for a say, let's suppose, and I want to apply a filter because I can see that there are a lot of state names and I want to apply a filter for. So in a simple way, what the filter is, I can just simply take the filter and I can select all of them and I can say apply and OK. And I can just right click and say show filter. So that will show you a filter in a form. Now, if you want to have a drop down, you can do it in that way. So right now, if let's suppose I want to see for Alabama, I can see for Alabama. If I want to see the filter for Delaware, I can see it for that. If I want to see it for Idaho, I can see it for that. So basically, I can see it for all of them. In fact, I can have multiples. Like I can show for Florida, I can show for this, like this. If I want to show it just for like some of this. So like this way, I can show for some of the quantities or maybe some of them. So that's a basic level of filter that you are applying. Now, there are some filters which are also there. If you edit, you have a like a custom filter or a top 10 filters, wherein based on the top 10 values of the quantity, you're applying that filter. So this is limited to top 10 values. So now if I remove it, it will show you the top 10 states. Basically on that front, it will show you the basic top 10 states accordingly. Okay. Now, this is something which is for the filters. Now, let's suppose if I want to apply a filter for the state also, if I want to apply a filter on the quantity as well, that okay, whatever the quantity I'm watching for, I want to apply a filter on that, that it should be an average for this to this, or maybe a range, this to maybe 7, and I want to apply for that. So that that's way I can see like an average quantity in a way. And then like that way, I want to apply two filters together. Then in that case, it becomes very complex. So to overcome this complex, we have a very easy method of LOD, which is also termed as a level of detail in our data view. That's a very simple term, which is known as LOD. Now, let's understand what is LOD. LOD is basically, I told you, it's for the complex queries. Now, there are various types when we talk about LODs. So, the types of LODs that are there is, one is a fixed LOD, wherein the expression computes the value using a specific dimension without the reference to any other dimensions in the view. So you don't have a reference to any dimensions in the view, but you are only having a reference to a specific context of the dimensions, or which is computing to a one value. Now in that, it might happen, you have the expression will remain fixed. For example, if I am finding the sales across the states, then I would say that for a particular country, for the various states, that should be fixed, and I would be looking for the sales in that front. So this is how I can basically see that. This is one of a way of seeing it. So that is called as the fixed LOD term, wherein everything gets fixed. Let's see an example. So LODs are normal expressions that you create by using a calculated column itself. You are creating a calculation over here. So I have taken region and I have taken state over here. And I've created a formula where I have basis on the region. My regions are fixed. I'm seeing the sum of sales. So as I can see from here, my regions are fixed, but I'm looking for the sum of sales. So if you see for the central, you will see a single sum of sales that I'm talking about. For east, I have a same sum of sales. Similarly, for the south, I have a single sum of sales that I'm seeing across. For west, same. So it's same across. So that means for the central, I'm getting a complete overview. So if I just remove the state from here, for central, I am getting a complete sales. What is the total sales for central? What is the total sales for east? What is the total sales for south? And what is the total sales for west? So now if in future there are any other regions that are needed to be added, or maybe any other states that get added in future, so then also my data won't change in that way and will not hamper the filters in any which way. So this is termed as a fixed LOD. Now there is an include LOD. Include means when in the level of detail you are including any specific dimensions or you're adding those dimensions in a view, then we call this as an include LOD. Now, how that include LOD works, let's see. Let's say in this case, when I'm including an LOD, I am doing it for the regional states. And what I am doing over here is I am including my states that for each of the states, I want to see the sum of states. So when I do that, I am basically able to see that for each state, I am seeing the sum of states. Okay, so for each state, my sum of sales are there. 631 and everything, my sum of sales are there. So if let's say I drop the states over in the label as well. And my LOD details also. So you will able to see that for you will see that for a California, you have accessories, and this is my LOD details that are there. This is for the different states you have your detail level or LOD level that is available. So that's how it shows you the value basically. Okay. That for each state you are looking for the value. Now, based on subcategory also has been divided for each of the states. Like for each of the state, what are the my regional sales that I'm going to see over in the include section. So here for each of the state, I know the variations. Similarly, when I talk about exclude LOD, so then exclude LOD basically is a subtract dimension from the. So when you are fixing a level of details, like the number of sales for each state in each region, first you fix that up, and then you are removing the next data. So basically, whatever you want to exclude. So for the number of sales for some states, I want to see the details, and for some I want to exclude it. So then in that case, I will do an exclude LOD. In that case, I'll create that exclude LOD. Now, how I'm going to, let's see. Okay. So let's say in this case, when I'm doing this, for the various months and for the various region, I'm showing the sum of sales. Now, in this, I have used an exclude LOD for regional sales, where what I am doing is, I'm basically excluding the region, I'm finding the sum of sales. So my regions have been included from the data. Just based on the months, I'm seeing the data for that particular, for the particular data set, I'm just seeing the data. That's it. So some of the regions have been excluded from my data set as per my requirement. So that is what is termed as an exclude LOD, wherein I want to exclude some of the details from my data and I want to represent it in a fixed view. So if you see the details over here, it says fixed level of detail expression. How you can write that? Next, you can drag the region and the state from the row shelf, and then you can simply see the calculations and you can see that everything is fixed. Similarly, if I talk about the include level of dimensions, so the same way you want to include it. And in the exclude section, if you work, so then you will have an exclude region, sales of figures and everything. And if you would relevantly drag any of the respective data in the shelf or anything of that sort, so based on that, it will show you the excluded region of sum of sales in the figures picture. So these were the level of details, in fact, and the level of terms that we use. So those are the facts and figures that we have for level of details and LODs. So these level of details and LODs are very much important because they will help you to understand the data sets, to have a more complex writing of the data, and to work with the data in a very aggregate and a very good way. Okay. So that's how we work with the LODs and all that in a real time. I hope that you have understood this all of the concepts, and hope you have a very good learning on that front, and you can explore more on these LODs, because LODs are very important. Calculations are also very important, and new topics which are there in Tableau. So one of the topic that we have in Tableau and is very much important is grouping. So basically, what we understand by the term grouping in a normal way, when we talk about groups, or when we talk about, like, we are creating groups. So let's say in an organization, if you are working, okay, and you've been assigned some task, and you are working in a, you will be working either individually or you will be working in a group. So in a similar way, the in your Tableau also, we can basically group the data. So what is grouping? Like, as I said, that an organization, if you are grouped together, that means you are working in a same team, but in multiple groups. Let's say group A, group B, group C, like the way we used to have competitions in school and all of that. Similarly, here in Tableau also, if let's say I want to combine some of the members together into a single dimension, so that rather than stating them differently, I might give them a group. So then that is called as a grouping. So Tableau group is nothing, but it is a collection of multiple members in a single dimension. As I mentioned, that is combined to form a higher category. So for example, in this case, like we have a category. So this is something in category where we have basically the what we basically have is that we have a category over here, and here it we can see, like if I open the sheet up and I bring the category over here. So it has three categories: furniture, office supplies, and technologies. Okay. Now let's suppose I want to make furniture and office supplies as in one group and technology as in other group. So furniture and office supplies should be in one group. Why? Because because office suppliers will also have furnitures in them. So that's why I want to combine them into a one group, and I want to keep the technology as a separate entity by itself. So how we can do that, or how we can make it? So let's see that in Tableau, how we can do that. So if you right click over here, you will see an option of create, and you will see an option of group. So like this. Now you can combine of furniture and office supplies, as I said, into, you select these and you click on group. So as soon as you do this, it creates a name for you, which will say furniture and office supplies. So either if you want, you can just keep this name as is, and you can select on OK. And by default, it will have category group. Or if you want to rename these group, so you can select these and you can rename this group as well. Like you can give it as a furniture group and just click on OK. And it will edit your group name. So this group name got edited. But if you want to edit the field name and you want to give it as for the furniture type or furniture categories, then you can do that. So this is how your group is created. Now, when I bring this, you will see it comes under furniture group and the respective value again. So if now let's say I bring the profit over here, so you will able to see the profit that for the furniture category, Furniture group, for the category furniture, I have a profit of 18,451. Similarly, for this category, I have a profit of 1,22,491. Similarly, for my technology, I have 1,45,455. So this is how we actually work with the Tableau group. Now, Tableau group allows a single dimension member to be grouped together and automatically create a new dimension with Tableau group. To get grouped together, basically, what it allows is that it allows a single dimension member to be grouped together. So as you can see, there was a single dimension member when we were grouping over here. If I open this, I edit this group, you see it was a single dimension member. Furniture was a single dimension member. Office supplies was a single dimension member. Now they help to combine the single dimension member to a group to group together. Automatically, we grouped it together, right? And creates a new dimension with a Tableau group at the end of the name. So it creates a new dimension with a Tableau group as always. Now, if you want to ungroup it, you can simply ungroup that. And you can apply and you can click on OK. Now this has been ungrouped. Okay. So basically, Tableau doesn't make any adjustments with the original member. So in this case, my original member was category. So it doesn't make any adjustment to the original dimension members. They was remain as it is. It actually created a new column completely for the category part. Okay. So that's what we basically do. So whereas it is a set process of combining, so standard dimensions filters are basically used when we apply for any of the category type of a grouping. So we always use the standard dimension filters. We never use or create complex dimension filters because we are not able to apply the complex dimension filters to any of the grouping data when we are doing it. We can only apply a simple yet very simple process of Tableau groups, or we can add some Tableau groups with a very simple filtering process, wherein end user can filter according to the Tableau group in the same way that we use as in for the dimension. So the filtering process in Tableau remains as is. For example, if let's say I have this furniture category and I again regroup this. And let's suppose I want to apply it as a filter this time. So we'll see if I apply this over here. And I click on OK. Let's make a chart out of this. And let's show the filter for it. So let's say this time, if I click on furniture and office supply, so it will only show me for the category of furniture and office supply, wherein in the category, you will see the details for furniture and you will see the details for office supplies. So that's what it is, that end user can filter using Tableau group in the same way that we use for dimensions. So rather than applying a filter, a normal filter of any dimensions, what we can do is that we can actually create like a very simple but yet a very leveraged type of a category in Tableau, basically. That's what we say. Okay. So that is what we call as about your Tableau categories, or what we talk about Tableau category system in all. So I hope that's clear with everyone, that how we can group two columns or two data together. Now question comes in where it is beneficial. For example, whenever you want to combine two columns together, or maybe have a group of the data together so that you can bifurcate as group A, group B, group C, then in that case, the grouping is very much important and is very much helpful as well. Okay. So that's how it works, like for the grouping system. or any of that purpose. Got it? So that is what we say as a group. Now let's come back to the next one. Now let's talk about the next topic, which is our hierarchies. Now, what is a hierarchy? So basically, whenever we talk about mathematics, we talk about any political, any organizational theory, or we talk about any data visualization, hierarchy is basically a very important and very common column which is used. So hierarchies are basically arranging your data or structuring your data by the way by which the data can be structured in an organized way, a more organized way. So there will be some hierarchy. Hierarchy, for example, if I talk about an organization, so obviously in organizations, there are some hierarchies that are in place. For example, like let's say if you are working in an organization, so in that organization also, if you are as a consultant, so obviously you are one of a member in the member in a team, you will be reporting to your manager will be reporting to a senior manager might be reporting to maybe an senior manager will be reporting to an AVP, then AVP will be reporting to a VP, then VP will be reporting to maybe the director. So this is in hierarchy, wherein there is each and every level, and each and every level has its own responsibilities and KPIs to complete for. Obviously, your KPI, your work will be pretty different from your maybe from the VP or the AVP, because VPs and AVPs are more into the business front, and you will be more into the technical work stuff while creating or developing the thing. So you will be on more of the operational side, on working, on providing the outputs, on generally working on the technologies, whereas your AVPs or VPs are more engaged with the business. Their job is to bring the business, to understand the gist of the business, to bring the clients so that you can provide them the work. Okay. So this is a hierarchy which is followed in an organization. Similarly, whenever you bring a data, or I'm not talking about only Tableau, but whenever there is a data in any which ways, in any of the tool or any of the table, there will always be an hierarchy that how the data process. So for example, if I talk about country, okay, so country will have your city, state, then it will have the city, it will have its own states. Under that states, it will have some areas or regions to be there. So there will be region, there will be city, there will be some region across, there will be some states. And finally, if they will have any sub categories of cities or maybe some small cities inside them. So this is how the hierarchy of a country develops. Like a country comes in, then in that country, there will be some regions across. Then in that region, there will be some cities and then some states, and then there will be some cities. Like this way, hierarchy goes on. So or it will be like your country, your city, your state, and your region. Like this way also hierarchy works on. So this is how basically your hierarchy is composed. Now, when I talk about the hierarchical data visualization, basically this hierarchy data visualization is used in your business intelligence and in the data analytics to show that how certain items or how the data is ranked in a system. So like the way I told you, in an organization, you are at a lower level. So your higher level will be your manager. Then then another higher level will be your senior maybe AVP. Then it will be VP and director. So director is the top level, which will be ranked as 1. Then your VP, that will be ranked as 2. Then AVP, which will be ranked as 3. Then your manager, which will be ranked as 4, and then you, which will be ranked as 5. So this is how the hierarchy follows, which is highest to lowest or lowest to highest, as ever you want to see. But there will be some ranking in place or a ranking in a system. So the level-wise configuration is represented in a hierarchy. It will be like of a tree structure. So there will be a tree structure always. That okay, like if this is the if somebody is a VP, so under a VP, what are who are the different types of AVPs? That maybe director is there will be one director for sure. Okay, under a single director there will be multiple VPs across. Okay, when there are multiple VPs, so under each VP there will be an AVP also. There can be and it would not be that there can be a single AVP, there can be multiple AVPs as well. So under multiple AVPs, there will be multiple managers as well. Okay, and under multiple managers, there will be multiple people reporting to them. So this is how it works. So that's why it says that it's a tree structure, wherein one person, which is your director, is on the top level and he is the head of that tree and he is controlling everything around. So that's why we called it as a tree structure or an hierarchy structure at a time. Okay. So data with relationships can be used to create a hierarchy in Tableau. Data which have a relationship with each other. For example, if they have any relationship, then only. So if your manager is someone else, okay, and your manager is someone else whose name is XYZ, and there is one AVP whose name is maybe AB, whose name is something of something as Manish or someone. So then obviously there's a different team. You will be reporting to your manager will be reporting to a person who is basically working for a similar project. So if you guys are boarded for one single project, let's say any of the healthcare domain project you guys are working for, so whosoever are working for that project, they will be accumulated in a one team and they will be categorized as having a relationship. Now, what is the relationship between them? That they all work with the same project and they all work under the same client or with the same service center. So that's why we say that in a hierarchy, we should always have a relationship, then only a hierarchy can be created. Similarly, when we need to perform some structures or related data grouping or any of the things or hierarchy field levels, for example, when we have a geographical hierarchy, for example, then at that point of time also, we can create a geographical hierarchy like of a country, city, state, state, region, any of these things. So that will be termed as a geographical hierarchy for us. Whereas there can be different levels where it is country, state, city, and area. Then there will be time hierarchy also. Time hierarchy on the other hand will have a different level. It will have year, month, week, and day. So there are always different hierarchies depending on what type of hierarchy you want to define for, what type of hierarchy you want to see for, or what type of hierarchy you are looking for. If you are looking for a geographical hierarchy, then it will be region, country, state, city, and area. But if it will be a time hierarchy, then in that case, it will be year, month, week, and day. And basically, you will set like the data on different levels and on different details to basically organize that data together and to look for that. That's what the importance or a gist of hierarchy is. Okay. So let's see how we create a hierarchy. Hierarchy is pretty simple to create. Let's say I have this country over here. So if you see, there is a hierarchy already created, pre-created. And if I just open this, I can see region, city, country, all of them. Let's say I say remove hierarchy. So now you can see country, city, and region as a separate entity. Now let's say I want to create an hierarchy. So how I can create an hierarchy? Let's say I take region. I have right click on it. I'll go to hierarchy and I'll say create hierarchy. I'll say okay. There's a hierarchy which is created. Now, once you create that, you can bring country, or you can just right click and you can just say add to hierarchy. Just right click and just say add to hierarchy. Here also right click, add to hierarchy region. Now, if we have state, we can add up that as well. Add to hierarchy region. So now, if you see, a hierarchy of region is created for me, where I have region, country, city, and state. So as I created this, what it will help me for? It will help me for nothing. But if let's say, if I bring this hierarchy itself as one of a column in my data set, and for each of the region, I want to see the profit, then it is more easy to see. Now, as I have created the hierarchy over here, what benefit it will provide me? Nothing. It will provide, so what benefit it will basically provide? You see this plus sign. So this is a signature of hierarchy, that it has, the data has in hierarchy, and you can go to more deeper level. That means you can drill down the data more, or drill down the data to a very better data set. Okay. So let's say I want to drill down the data to over here. So I click over region. So see, it's just split. From here, it splits to more. From here, it splits to more granular. So here, what I see is that I can see some basic details that my data is getting split across. So this is my profit. These are getting split across. And if let's say I want to remove profit, and based on quantity I want to see also. So this is how it looks like. So this is what we basically see, that yes, according to this, I can see like some average quantity based on that city, region, and state. Now, if you just close this, if you just click on this -1, it will again bring back your data to the initial stage of the hierarchy where it was started. And if you see over here, there is a sign also that it is a tree like a structure. Okay, like a tree like a structure has been created. So this is a symbol of hierarchy. As I told you also that in hierarchy, we always see a tree like of a structure as well. Okay, so this is a point of hierarchy. Similarly, if you want to create something related to time or something of that sort, then in that case, we need to have an order date, and based on the order date, we need to find the month, we need to find the year, we need to find the week, we need to find the date, and based on that, there can be hierarchies that can be created for the date as well. So let's see if we can create something. Let's see if we can create an hierarchy for year. For order dates. And let's just again take the order date. Let's create for month. Now for week. Order date. for your day of another page. Day and I'll breakfast. So I have everything. Now let's create the hierarchy for order date. There's a hierarchy created. Now let me add that up. Let's search for the year. Where is it? Year. Yeah, there it goes. And we'll say order date. Then we'll add month. Then we'll add the week. There is our week. We'll add a certain hierarchy. And finally, the date. Yes. So now you have a hierarchy for an order date. Now let's say I bring the order date. Based on this date, I want to show my profit ratio. I want to show my profit ratio. And I'll probably bring it, okay, let it be in a form of a line only. And I'll probably swap that for you like this. So now, if you see over here, when I make the order date, I bring it to, okay, let me bring this over here to be more clear. Now, when I make that year, you can see that it has split for year. Similarly, when I make it more, it is split for the month. When I go ahead more, it's split for the week. And then it's split for the day. So it gives you the detail of each and every of the thing. Like if you want to see for the days, if you want to see for the week, for the month, for the year, it will show you everything. Now, if let's suppose I just put the order date over here as a filter and I take like this, just for the year. Now, if I want to filter it for a particular year, see, my data is over here and I can see for that filter. Now, from here, if I just try to close it, so finally, this is my order date, and for this, but only for the year 2020, I'm seeing my profit ratio. So this is how my data works. And now if you want to swap it also, you can swap it. Or probably I don't want to see for the date. Probably I want to see for the year. Then I can just get for the year and I can hide that one. I can just simply say, don't show headers. It will simply be for the year one, like this one. Okay, so basically that's one of a method to drill down your data as well. That's one of a basic method to drill down the data as well. So this is called as the hierarchy. Okay. Now, coming back to one of the most important and another interesting topic, which is your sets. So there is something called as Tableau set. Now, what is set? We did about groups, that we are grouping two columns together or two groups together or maybe two categories together. We learned about hierarchies that based on any of the data grouping or field, we can do a group. Now here we do a Tableau set. Now what are Tableau sets? Tableau sets are nothing but they are the custom fields that used to keep a subset of the data based on a condition. So based on any condition, you can create a Tableau set. Now, what are those conditions can be? For example, in a real time, when you're selecting a member from a list or from a visualization, you can do same thing by writing a custom condition or just selecting few records. For example, when I want to just find out what are the top or what are the bottom measures from the complete set of the records, let's say if I am seeing for each of the state, I'm seeing for what are the records or what are everything that comes up in a data. So in that case, basically, if I want to see, okay, what are the top performing countries for which I want to see the sales across, or I want to look for the profit across. So in that case, my Tableau sets comes into a great picture because there I would likely to reduce the data, compress it just for the top and the bottom categorization. So user will have a basic filter type of a thing where the person will categorize for the top and the bottom, and very similarly, it will be done and it will work for it. So that is what we call about the Tableau set. So in a real-time selection, it is very much important and it can do a great wonders. So you can do the same thing, or you can create a Tableau set and you can use that subset of the data basically based on user-defined conditions. So you can have any user-defined condition and you can define those conditions. For example, for an instance, I would say that let's say you have a Tableau set could be created on something of the top 10 customers who have the highest sales, like the way I told you. So then you will have a Tableau set which will helps you to control your aspect or analysis based on if you want to see for the top 10 performing customers only in that particular worksheet. That's what we remember for a set in that case. Okay. So that's how sets are created and that's how sets are basically made. Now, how we create a set? Let's see. Let's say I want to, let me just create a set for a new set. Let's say I have these product names and I want to create a set for this product. I right click on it and I'll say set. Let's say I select maybe not this one, but the names having #10 written. I select this and I named it as #10 product set. Yeah, so I took this first and created as a hashtag product set. Once I do it, I'll click on OK. So this is a 10 product set. Now, let's say if you bring this, like if you bring up, now I bring the product name across and I'll bring my quantity across. Now take the sum, I might be taking an average like this way. And I am going to bring over here what my 10 product category. So see, as soon as I bring my 10 product category in the filter, it only showed me for the filters that I have filtered for. Automatically, the product name compressed to only those filters for which my set was created. So that's how this set basically works. That for whatever data, for whatever categories, for whatever results you want to work for, it will simply work on that way. So it will only show you that respective value, what you are looking for, what you are expecting for an M data. Now, if you want to change it, it's probably a chart or maybe a side chart or maybe anything, like probably anything. So then you can see it out. So that's how basically everything on that front is created and it worked also. So that's what we called about a set. Okay. And that's what we work on with the set. So this is how we work with a set and this is how we combine it. So sets are mostly useful when we actually work with the data. Okay, when we actually work with the data, when we actually work with your data sets and actually set of it. Okay, so then in that case, we always use a set in that to work with it. Got it? So this is how we basically work with the set. So sets basically help you to reduce your work, basically help you to reduce the task, basically help you with a filtering of the data more in a more unique way, in a more better way, so that you can better in a very better way and in a very better sense, you can just have a quick response to the data. So as soon as I give a product name, otherwise what used to happen is that I have to take the product name over here in the filters and I have to see now it shows a custom value list. So if let's say I want to show, so see these topics are only included. So let's say if I remove this for now, it will show me the complete data set. Now, if let's say I want to bring it over here, then I have to manually go and select from here. I have to select null, then I have to find out for those hash numbers, and then probably I would able to get those selections and I can apply those ones. So this basically happens. But to reduce that time and to make it more efficient in a way, it just shows me like that way. That is good to go. So it's perfectly fine. It looks perfectly fine. It works perfectly fine. So that's how we basically work with the set, we work with the data, and we work with all of them. So these are just the gist of the sets. Now, if I talk about looking for the sets or for making data or for creations of the data, so in that case, they are very much helpful. Okay, to reduce and to protect a set. In fact, if let's suppose you have any hash, any values, and you want to remove them from your data set, so what you can do is that you can just create a set out of that and you can just exclude the hashes. So you will have only the required values wherein you won't have any hash any's or anything over it. So then it will be perfectly and better, much better view to see for. Okay. So I hope that it worked well for you, uh, and it worked very good for you. But in that sense, hope you understand the beneficial of this. So basically, the conclusion of all of these is that Tableau has like a group, has a set, has a hierarchy in a simplified way. So basically, they give you a gist of all of them so that you can connect, you can manage, you can collect your data, you can manage it across several applications in your database. And it is important for a complete performance. So whenever you want to have the performance at a highest level of hierarchy or want to work with the highest level or with a more dynamic speed, when you want to see for the requirements, when you want to perform for the performance integrity phase, wherein you have to keep the performance good, then in that case, basically, these sets, creating of the sets, creating of hierarchies, creating of your uh, groups, they are very important. They becomes very legit at that point of time and helps you to integrate the data from all the sources, basically clean and transform it and help you to visualize that. Okay, so I hope that it worked well for you and I hope that it worked well for you also.